Phoenix walls. Fade in. Theme. Sometimes our walls exist just to see who has the strength to knock them down, by Darnell Lamont Walker. Fade out. Exterior. Scenes of Phoenix. Morning. A bright sun beams. A rapid pan of 5 feet high brown residential walls that surround each home in Phoenix is in view.
Good morning, Phoenicians. This is Jay James with KYYZ, the Valley's #1 radio show. Is it hot in the desert today? We are at 110 degrees. The city of Phoenix is considering water conservation measures due to a drop in Colorado River's water table. This 5-year drought has affected the livestock industry and farmers in the far west valley of Phoenix. The legislature is considering emergency legislation to address...
Interior emergency room morning. Hallway conversations are heard. The door opens. Alice Francois, a 40-year-old African-American physician whose beautiful legs are inadequately hidden by the white coat that drapes them, enters an examination room.
Have you had a chance to discuss my recommendations?
A depressed-looking Sylvia Alvarez, aged 29, sits near her husband, Eduardo Alvarez, aged 31.
I want to breastfeed my baby.
Doctor, she won't listen to me.
Sylvia, listen to me. Seeing the social worker for therapy and taking the medication will help you. You're anxious and you're not sleeping. What you're doing now isn't helping your baby.
Baby, listen to the doctor.
If I take medications, my baby can't breastfeed, and that will make his immunity weak.
Sylvia, you're too depressed and stressed now to breastfeed.
Please, baby.
Sylvia looks into Eduardo's pleading eyes.
Okay, Dr. Francois, I'll take the medication.
Eduardo nods his head in the affirmative. Alice reaches into her laboratory coat pocket and takes out a prescription.
Here's the prescription. The nurse will give you your discharge plans. This is the right decision.
Alice touches Sylvia on the shoulder and shakes Eduardo's hand. Alice exits. Interior emergency room hallway morning. Nurse Perez, who is in her mid-50s and is wearing an elderly woman's eyeglasses from the 1950s, approaches Alice.
You must be tired. I heard you had a busy shift last night.
It was insanely busy. I need to sleep.
Get out of here. I'll finish the paperwork.
Okay.
Alice walks out the emergency room's exit. Exterior, a Phoenix bus stop morning. Under a hot sun, a 60-year-old homeless man throws bottles of water at a bus as it drives off. The homeless man chases the bus into the intersection. He throws another bottle of water at the bus.
Get the fuck away from me. I know what you're doing.
The bus drives out of sight. The homeless man walks out of sight with his cart. Exterior streets of Phoenix morning. Alice is driving in her new BMW convertible with rhythm and blues playing on the radio. She approaches an intersection. The light is green. The homeless man enters the intersection with a shopping cart. Alice tries to avoid him. A loud crash is heard. Exterior, streets of Phoenix morning. George Thompson, 45 years old and handsome, witnesses the accident and jumps out of his car. He runs towards the BMW, which has crashed into a neighborhood dividing wall. He approaches the car. Alice is conscious, but her forehead is bleeding. He takes her carotid pulse and then slowly pulls her away from the deployed car airbags and out of the car.
Thank you. Please, stay with me. I'm feeling dizzy. My name is...
Alice is now unconscious. He places her on the ground as he carefully supports her head and neck. He pulls out his phone from his pocket. He looks at the street signs. He dials 911. The phone rings.
We have a car crash victim at Scottsdale Road and Cactus Road intersection. The victim is alive but unconscious. Okay. Understood. Please hurry. I'm not leaving her.
George hangs up his cell. George brushes Alice's hair away from her bloody forehead. In the background, the homeless man pushes his cart away from the scene of the accident. Exterior, Arizona State Psychiatric Hospital, day. The hospital's 12-foot-high gray security boundary wall comes into view. The Arizona state flag and the U.S. flag blow in the wind in front of an administrative office building. Above the doorway, a sign reads, Central Administration. A security guard exits the building. He pours a bottle of water over his bald head as the sun looms down upon him. Interior, Arizona State Psychiatric Hospital, day. A professional-looking Mrs. Winmore in her mid-60s walks through a long hallway adorned by portraits of distinguished-looking old white men. She approaches a door that reads, Chief Medical Officer. She knocks on the door and quickly enters.
Please excuse the intrusion, Dr. Roberts, but I have Governor's Chief of Staff on line 3.
Charles Roberts, an Englishman in his early 50s, looks up from his computer screen and glances at the blinking light on his telephone.
Thank you, Mrs. Winmore. Please get the door.
Certainly.
She closes the door. Roberts picks up the phone.
Dr. Roberts. Hello. Michael, how can I help you? I don't establish the security budget for the hospital. You do. This is a crock of shit.
Charles hangs up the phone. He calmly turns his office computer off. Just as calmly, he picks up a pencil from his desktop and breaks it in two. Interior, Desert Recovery Center, day. 2 nurses are talking at the front desk of a medical practice. Spencer Andrews, who is in his 40s, walks into the building. He's wearing a very tight sports shirt, which seems to accentuate the fact that he spends a lot of time in the gym and wants everyone to know. He approaches the nurses. Betty, age 49, looks at Spencer.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, doctor. You're late for your first appointment.
Traffic was slow on the 101.
You left your prescription pad on your desk again.
The nurse hands him his pad.
We have a lot of addicts in the building. Keep up with your pad.
Try not to use the word addict, okay?
What's the appropriate term?
Patient.
Okay, we've got a lot of patients in the building.
Thank you.
Speaking of patients, Miss Ross is in your office. She's a patient that I wouldn't want near your prescription pad.
Spencer frowns at the nurses and then walks towards his office. Spencer enters his office. A well-dressed and manicured Joanne Ross, age 29, sits in a chair in front of Spencer's desk. She doesn't have one hair out of place. Odds are that she has never had a hair out of place.
Good morning.
Good morning, doctor.
Spencer takes a seat in his chair behind the desk. He enters a password into his computer and begins to read Joanne's medical record. Joanne stares at his biceps, which goes unnoticed by Spencer.
How are you? Have you tapered off the Vicodin, as discussed in our last session?
Joanne looks at Spencer. The room is silent.
Joanne, you were the only person in the room.
I tried. You don't understand how hard this is. I'm addicted to this drug.
That's why you're seeing me. But I can't keep giving you pills. We have to stop the pills sooner or later, and we're at later.
Spencer begins to type on his computer keyboard.
Are you going to the Narcotic Anonymous meetings? Have you seen the therapist I referred you to?
I couldn't. I have kids and a boutique to run. My husband can't find out about this. He can't know about the pills. He'll divorce me and take the kids, my store, and all the money.
That's why you need to do this program, Joanne.
I need a prescription. Just 2 more weeks.
I can't. I have to justify giving you prescriptions. We've passed the point of justification.
Joanne is panicking. She licks her red lipstick lips. She takes a deep breath.
I can crawl under your desk. You can be Bill Clinton. I'll be Monica Lewinsky. I can make you feel good, and you can write a prescription that will make me feel good. How would that work for you?
Joanne leans forward and strokes Spencer's left bicep. He gently but firmly pushes her away.
Joanne, no. I'm here to help you. Why are you doing this?
You help me, and I can really help you. Your nurses told me that you're divorced. That can be really hard on a man.
Spencer stands up and walks to the door. He opens the door.
Joanne, if you can't discuss your behavior with me now, you may leave.
Joanne remains silent.
You need to leave. Now.
Joanne looks at Spencer.
I'll send you a list of doctors who can treat you to your email address. One of my partners in the practice will cover you for emergencies only for the next 60 days. You're being terminated from this practice due to inappropriate behavior.
Dejected, Joanne stands. She grabs her purse and runs out of the room. Spencer closes the door and sits behind his desk. Cut to Interior Desert Recovery Day. In the lobby, the nurses at the desk watch Joanne as she runs out the door. Betty looks at the other nurse.
That's not good.
Cut to Interior Desert Recovery Day. Spencer looks out of his office window in a state of bewilderment. Interior, the residence of Charles Roberts and Lori Van Horn, day. The door opens. Charles is searching for his door keys. Amelia Garcia, a beautiful Latina woman in her early 40s, looks at Charles. Charles looks distracted and dazed. Charles enters the foyer.
Sir, are you okay?
I'm fine, Amelia, thank you. Where is Laurie?
Miss Van Horn is in the solarium.
Charles walks out of the foyer. Charles walks into a wooden paneled library. Charles walks into a large glass solarium attached to the library. Lori Van Horn, in her early 50s, with her hair in a very tight ponytail, is trimming orchids.
You're home rather early, Charles.
They, the governor's office, terminated my employment today.
She stops cutting the orchids. She looks at him. Then she returns to cutting her orchids.
I'm getting blamed for a mishap at the hospital. Nothing to say? That's not like you.
Okay, you need me to say something? Let's see. I'm embarrassed that my husband couldn't manage a state hospital. A hospital that is virtually on remote control. What happened at the hospital?
We had an escapee early this morning. One nurse was almost strangled to death. An orderly has a fractured jaw. The governor's office blames me. I was terminated. They need a viable scapegoat, and I'm a viable political scapegoat, I guess.
Jesus Christ, Charles. What are people going to say?
She artfully becomes a victim of the firing. She puts down the shearing scissors. She looks at Charles.
They'll probably say I got fired.
That's right, get flippant with me.
This may be an opportunity for me to do something new.
An opportunity?
I don't know. I need to explore a few options. I've been unhappy since I took that job. I hated being a superintendent of a secured facility.
You were not a superintendent. You were the chief medical officer of the state's forensic hospital, which is prestigious. I shouldn't be surprised. You lost a job at that managed care company, too.
Lowry and Charles look directly into each other's eyes.
Why did you marry me?
Stay on topic. This is not about our marriage. This is an embarrassment.
I just got fired, and you are worried about what people will say. This is simply amazing. I think this is about our marriage.
Lowry storms out of the room. Charles looks at a white orchid sitting on a small oak table. He smells it and angrily cuts off all the petals with the shearing scissors. He rubs the petals in his hands and then smells his hands.